In Riverside, gang-related homicides are all too prevalent. But what stood out in young Crystal Theobald's case was how her mother, Belinda Lane, used MySpace to track down her killer. Lane's valiant efforts resulted in justice for her daughter, who had left behind two young children. Welcome back to Documentary Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through a documentary film about a mom who tracked down those who were involved in the murder of her daughter using MySpace, titled Why Did You Kill Me? From the year 2021. Why Did You Kill Me is a documentary about Crystal Theobald's tragic death and her family's non-police sanctioned investigation to make sure that the killers of the 24-year-old girl are held accountable. On February 24, 2006, 8 members of the local gang 5150 were on the lookout for a white SUV carrying members of rival gang MD17 who had allegedly shot at them earlier that day. Around 8:40 p.m., Theobald, her boyfriend Juan Patlan, and her brother Justin Theobald were ambushed by the 5150 members in Justin's white SUV. She died 2 days later as a result of her injuries. In the aftermath of Theobald's murder, her cousin, Jamie McIntyre, 14 at the time, created a MySpace page with images of Theobald and a false name in the hopes of befriending anyone who could assist solve the mystery. She met William Joker Sotelo, a known 5150 member who later revealed himself to be the owner of a white Ford Escalade as a result of her efforts. Lane passed on the information to local cops who summoned Sotelo in for questioning. On the night of question, he admitted to owning and driving the vehicle that fired up Theobald's vehicle. He also gave officers the identity of gang member Julio Lil Juero Heredia, a 17-year-old who, it was later revealed, shot and killed Theobald by mistake after mistaking her car for that of a rival gang member. McIntyre grappled with the idea of pretending to be her loving cousin on social media and eventually passed over the credentials to Lane, who continued the unofficial probe. Making someone fall in love with someone who's gone is a horrible feeling, McIntyre said in the documentary, tears streaming down her face. Before her daughter's untimely death, Lane was facing her own demons, which she was able to overcome in the aftermath of the tragedy. She admitted to being a habitual meth user who also sold the substance, despite Theobald's repeated requests for her to stop. Lane regained his sense of purpose after investigating the murder, finally taking over McIntyre's MySpace account. When information stopped, she became dejected and irritated, leading her to become more curious about gang members and social media. She set out on the road, armed with new knowledge, to chronicle whatever she could, including images of cars and their license plates. She grew engrossed in the case, leading her down a dark and perilous path. Lane sought vengeance on the 5150 via social media, contacting a third gang, Casablanca, with the intention of starting a fight between the two gangs. After a number of white SUVs were shot up or set on fire in the vicinity, police requested Lane to cease provoking. Lane put out a bogus invitation to an end-of-the-world party that led to an abandoned road so she could kill them personally. She admitted in the documentary that she planned to shoot them. She had a perfect plan and a gun and was going to shoot them. Her surviving boys prevented her from carrying out her plans. She discontinued communication with Sotelo and her investigation shortly after that. Lane went into hiding after revealing to Sotelo that the woman in the MySpace photo was deceased, confirming her suspicions that he was involved. Interviews with 5150 members, brothers Manuel and William Lemus, whose evidence helped convict Heredia of the murder, were among the various avenues pursued by law enforcement. In exchange for their cooperation, neither was ever charged with a crime. In 2011, Heredia was found guilty of 7 criminal crimes, including the first-degree murder of Theobald, the attempted murder of her brother Justin, and the attempted murder of her lover, among others. Heredia was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for murder, as well as 25 years in prison for death by gunshot. Thanks to Lane, his life was spared. He's currently incarcerated at the California State Prison in Sacramento, where he's serving his term. Lane received anonymous information regarding Sotelo's whereabouts in Mexico, where he was living with his wife and 4 children, a decade after he went into hiding. In early 2020, he pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and received a sentence of 22 years in prison. The now 33-year-old is serving his sentence in Centinela State Prison and will be eligible for parole in May of 2030. What are your thoughts about this documentary? Comment below.